I'm confused.
Does Mr. Happiness want to help you know how to pack for our trip?
He doesn't. I already asked him.
No.
Eliza, let's see. Eliza needs to bring something.
Oh, okay. Dang it.
Bring some.
I'm going to bring eggs.
Eggs. We're going to eat eggs. Eggs are such a beautiful part of our fairy tale land. Yes. Okay, let me see. Sophie, what shall you bring? Sophie Allen, what do you bring to Everwood Alliance?
I'm Sophie, and I will bring soup.
Soup. We need soup. You know, in the past, we've had legislation about soup. Soup is a very important part of our fairy tale. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. Zarin Hoffman, tell me what you're going to bring.
I might bring a zebra.
A zero. That might
No,
be
no, no. A zebra.
a zebra.
Maybe.
Even better. Even
Maybe.
better. Okay, that's okay. We'll think about that, but that's good. Okay, Eliza, what are you going to bring?
I'll bring earrings.
Earrings. Oh, lovely, lovely earrings. Anna, what shall you bring?
I'm not entirely sure what we're doing.
We're playing a game where we're packing for the Everwood Alliance and we're telling our names and what we're bringing. And there's a connection between our name and what we bring. So keep listening. I'll come back to you. Andrew Butler, what are you bringing?
An airplane.
An airplane. Perfect. You can come. Andrew is bringing an airplane. Xander. What's Xander going to bring? Xander.
I'm Xander. Probably gonna xylophone, I guess.
Xylophone will be needed. We will have much musical entertainment from your xylophone. Thank you. Tiffany, what shall you bring to the Everwood Alliance?
My name is Tiffany, and I will be bringing tongs with which to serve you your food from the kitchen.
Yes, thank you so much, Tiffany, for bringing tongs. Tongs. Woo. And Kendon, what are you bringing, Kendon?
I'm bringing kindness.
Kindness is so needed in a fairy tale world. Sometimes they get a bit persnickety, especially those evil stepsisters. So kindness will be needed. You can come to the Everwood Alliance. Emmeline, what shall you bring?
She's not at the computer right now.
Miriam, what are you bringing?
I'll bring me.
Bring. Oh, can you bring me too?
Sure.
That will be fabulous. Miriam, you can bring me and you and me, and we'll be great. So, Anna, have you figured out the connection between our names and what we're bringing yet?
Yeah, I literally am so creative right now. So apples.
Apples. That is important because I believe there's this one lady who's poisoned a bunch of them. So we're going to need some fresh apples. Is there anyone that I've missed on our call who's coming who needs to be introduced? Denver. Oh, he's coming on. Okay. Well, I think that Claire's going to bring cake and Hiram's going to bring happiness and Eliza's going to bring eggs and Isabel's going to bring ice and Nicholas is going to bring napkins and Amy is going to bring... Tell me what you were going to bring. I forgot.
I was going to bring Anna.
Anna, right, of course. I did remember that. And Sophie's bringing soup, and Anna's bringing those are very important apples, and Andrew's bringing an airplane, Tiffany's bringing tongs, Eliza's bringing earrings, Zarin is bringing... Zarin? What did you bring? A zebra. Xander's bringing a xylophone, Joy's bringing jelly beans, Kendron's bringing kindness, Emmeline is going to bring something wonderful. Kendron is bringing... Kendron, tell me what you're bringing in. Oh, kindness, we said that. Things are moving around here. And Miriam is bringing me. And I have a note not to forget somebody. Denver, what are you bringing?
What? I wasn't here.
Tell Denver what he needs to bring. Somebody tell Denver what he can bring.
You can bring some dirt.
Denver's bringing his pet dragon.
Sure, he's
Um,
bringing his pet dragon. Good. Any of those will be fine. We're
Sure.
introducing ourselves.
Rawr.
Or his dog.
This is my pet dragon. What are you talking
It's been
about?
a fabulous little conversation we've all had. I forgot Bonnie is bringing.
Baseball bat.
That's right. Okay. And I, Catherine, am going to bring the king because every fairy tale needs a king. So we
Fairy
shall.
godmother,
Yes, dear.
point of information. Claire and Amy both have extra people on their videos. Can they bring something and come too?
Okay, let's do it. Claire,
It's Levi is with Claire and Noelle is with Amy.
Levi, what are you bringing, dear?
Loafers.
Loafers. Perfect. You can come. Noelle, are you with Amy?
Yes.
Tell us what
note paper.
you're bringing.
Note paper.
Note paper. Perfect. Well, this has been a fabulous time, and I believe that this is all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move that we explain why we are meeting.
It has been moved that we explain why we are meeting. Is there a second?
I second the notion.
The chair recognizes Catherine for 5 minutes to give an explanation of the assembly.
Oh my, it's my turn again. Okay, here we go. I'm going to give you an explanation of the summary. Do you see in the middle there? It's backwards. I'm sorry, that's how this works. So, but I'll tell you what it says. It says, we the people. We're going to be meeting in the Everwood Alliance to talk about our government. In our pre-sim meetings, we're going to be talking about our actual government. Here's a little picture and a rotating picture. And our real government has 3 branches. The first branch, which none of is really the first, that's why it's on this circle, but we'll start right here. The executive branch, actually, we'll go back to this one. The legislative branch makes the laws. The executive branch makes sure they get executed. That doesn't mean killed, by the way. It just means carried out. And the judicial branch makes sure that the laws are just and in harmony with we the people's constitution. So in our Everwood Fairy Tale Alliance, we're going to talk about one aspect of these. So our legislative branch has 2 parts, the Senate and the House. And in our Everwood Alliance, we're going to mimic the House. So this is a pretty big government system here. And we're only going to really learn about the one part at our Everwood Alliance, but we need to understand how it fits into this big picture. So when we're in the Everwood Alliance, we will be talking about the House, but it will actually be called the Assembly. But now you can see how it fits into the very big picture. So in our Everwood Alliance, we'll be talking about half of our actual United States legislature. There will be an imaginary executive branch, an imaginary judicial branch, and we the people will be the people of your fairy tale lands. Those who are in the assembly will carry out the proceedings that mimic what happens in our House of Representatives. The people who attend will be representatives of the people or the animals from their own fairy tale. Does that make sense? I see nods. Shake your head this way if you're confused. Who's shaking, Hiram? What do you have? You have a question?
Oh, Liza said she didn't get it.
No, I just said I didn't remember anything.
She wasn't listening.
Perfect. Really quick review. In our fairy tale land, we will have imaginary executive, an imaginary judicial, and an imaginary Senate. And we will carry out a real mock version of the House that we're going to call the Assembly. In this call, we will teach you all about how it really works in our real life world. When we get to the sim, we will be mimicking what happens in the House by participating in an assembly in a very fun fairy tale made up world. And that's all that I have to say about that.
Thank you. Do we have another motion?
Izzy, do you happen to have a motion?
I motion to move on to what Bonnie motioned in the chat of explaining why we are talking this way.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Anyone?
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded that we explain why we're talking this way. The chair recognizes Bonnie for 5 minutes to explain parliamentary procedure.
Okay, everybody. So during this meeting and all of our subsequent meetings and in the assembly at the Everwood Alliance, we will be using parliamentary procedure, or if we want to be cool and nerdy, we can call it Parley Pro. So in Parley Pro, there are lots of ways that we can speak. Okay, I love that Finn is cracking up right now. There are many ways that we can speak that are formal and organized, and we are going to teach you a little bit at a time every week in our workshop. So there are certain before we get to that though, there are reasons why parliamentary procedure. Can somebody mute? Okay, looks like everybody's muted again. Great. So one of the reasons why we're using parliamentary procedure in the workshop is to prepare us for Yes Week. And another reason is so that we can take turns leading. At our workshop, many of you, should you choose, will have the opportunity to lead these meetings. And it will be good preparation, like I said, for what we do at Yes Week. And so we're going to practice here. There are a few basic reasons why parliamentary procedure is used at all in meetings. And I want to talk about that next. So one reason is that it can help the meetings be efficient and follow the rules of the meetings that help them stay organized. Another reason is to give everybody opportunities to speak. And another is to keep the meeting on task. Have you ever had meetings where somebody goes off onto tangents for a really long time? Like maybe in our Quest class, and it might be me that's the guilty party. So if we were doing parliamentary procedure, we wouldn't have time or the opportunity to just go off on random tangents. So it helps us stay on task. We talk about one topic at a time until that topic is finished, and then we move on to the next topic. It also gives everyone an opportunity to speak and to have their point heard. The majority will win when decisions are being made in parliamentary procedure, but the minority, if you are not agreeing with the majority, you will still have an opportunity for your voice to be heard. So those are some of the advantages of parliamentary procedure. So we're going to just talk about a few elements for this week. The first one is being recognized. If you may have noticed, Nicholas is our chairman at this meeting, which means he is the one conducting and running the meeting. And with very few exceptions, nobody has a turn to speak unless Nicholas recognizes them, or if he yields the time to someone else and they recognize them. So that's why Nicholas yielded the time, 5 minutes, to me to speak about this at this time. If you had something you really needed to say, there might be ways to deal with that, and we'll talk about that another time. But Nicholas can recognize someone. So if you raise your hand, or if you want to make a comment or ask a question during the main part of the meeting when Nicholas is running it, then he would say the chair recognizes whomever it is that wanted to make the call. Then we have motions. You'll have noticed some of the members of our workshop are making motions. The way we make a motion is to say, I move that we fill in the blank with whatever it is that we're doing. And then motions have to be seconded. If they are not seconded, then they're not going to happen. And you can second a motion even if you're not necessarily in favor of it, if you're not going to vote for it. Just seconding the motion allows us to discuss something, not necessarily to vote in favor of it. Does that make sense? So in this meeting, we're moving that we talk about this, or we talk about this, or we talk about this, and then we have a second, and that means we can move forward with that in the meeting. There is several more steps where we can debate a motion, we can vote on a motion, we can amend a motion, and we will talk about all of those in future weeks. But for today, we're talking about making a motion and seconding. Okay, so who can tell me really quick what's the wording you use if you want to make a motion?
I move that.
I move that, and then whatever it is that you move. And then what has to happen after someone makes a motion in order for the motion to move forward?
It has to be seconded.
It has to be seconded. That's right. Okay, and what's the name of this whole way of talking and running a meeting?
Parley Pro.
Parley Pro. That's right. Okay, good job, you guys. And with that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you so much. Do we have another motion?
I move that we explain what the media has to do with this.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we explain what the media has to do with this. The chair now recognizes Joy for 5 minutes to explain that.
So the person that's going to actually be leading the media is Sonia Brooksby. She is in Korea, however, and is not able to come to join us today for the meeting. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the media has to do with this Yes Week. I'm sure that, well, I'm not sure. Some of you may have seen maybe little video clips of the House of Representatives or the Senate in session, or maybe even in the state legislature. There's actually an important part of that is that the news, the media actually reports on what's happening in the news. I mean, in the session, in the assembly, in the House of Representatives or in the government. The news, of course, does a lot more than just watch what's going on and report actually what's going on. They might have a lot of opinions about it too. There's all kinds of media that then talk about things that may have happened in the government or in the world right now. So there may be, articles, news articles, news flashes like on TV or on little videos on YouTube or in magazines and newspapers. Nowadays, newspapers and magazines are even online, but there's all different kinds of news, and people might interview different people, different government officials, and get their opinions on things. So when we're in our simulation in our assembly, we're going to have a whole team of news media people. Some of them will be videographers. They'll be the ones that are actually taking doing the video, being the cameraman. And then there might be those who are interviewers. They're reporters. They might be interviewing so-and-so. Please tell me what you think of this bill that was being passed or that was being discussed. Are you going to vote for it? Or, what is your opinion? And then there might be some that are writing the articles that be posted up on the wall in the newspapers that, then they might be really opinionated articles, or they might be very straightforward articles. But the media has a huge effect on what people, the general populace, knows or thinks about what's happening. They are responsible to, it depends on what we hear and what we believe is actually happening. So if I'm not actually there at the assembly or at the House of Representatives, I'm not going to know. I'm only going to know what the media tells me. Okay. Whatever I find out from the reporter is what I'm going to believe happened. So it's going to be the media team that's at Yes Week will be the ones that really being able to sway or help the general public decide what's, how to vote or whatever, help all the assemblymen too. So there'll be, as I said, there will be cameramen, there will be reporters, there will be, I think she called them, there's a copy person, and I think that's the person that actually writes up the wording there, and there's video editing, those who edit the videos and turn that into a finished product to show on YouTube or on the news or whatever. We're going to be showing news flashes like at all of our meals. We're going to be having news showing of news flashes. We'll be having newspapers and articles printed and put up and spread and passed around. We're also going to be having media or messages, like a messaging system where you can send private messages, but they'll be actually written, and we'll have little runners that you'll have to call, and then it'll send the runner over to the other person to get the message, and then they can also you can post group messages, and it'll go up on the wall, and so there will be all kinds of messaging media going on. You could even there might even be some commercials that you make, and music that needs to go with your commercial. You might have to create some jingles. There's all kinds of potential for just the media that's going to happen, and we need a lot of technical skills, a lot of people that are going to be working, and you're going to be working hard creating media like all throughout the days, and reporting, going and finding out what's happening, come back and write reports. Some of the assemblymen might ask you to write a special report, or they want a bill to be passed, and so they're going to try to get some lobbyists, and try to get people to convince people. They might have you write up an article or a commercial or whatever. So can you see how that will play into our whole government experience? Does anybody have any questions about that, about what kind of things the media will be doing? Okay, one thing that I do want to make clear is that Sonia wanted to make clear is that this is a busy job. These are going to be busy working. You're going to be video editing, you're going to be writing reports, you're going to be doing, all this kind of stuff. So if you're going to be on the media team, don't think that's a team that you're not going to be doing work. You're going to be, if you're wanting to sit and relax, that's not the media job. You're going to be busy. Okay. So, and she's going to be having a certain number. There's only a certain limited number of spots on each kind of job. So she'll be teaching the different kinds of jobs and what they each do and how they work. And then she's going to be taking applications for the different kinds of jobs. And I think you might even have to, you might have to apply in some way. And then at the end, there will only be a certain number in each, we're not going to have 15 reporters, or 15 video editors or whatever. There's going to be a certain number for each job. So be aware that as she goes throughout the weeks of her video classes, she'll be teaching an overview for the first week, and then she'll be teaching each week a different skill of a different kind of media job, and then having those people apply. So did I miss anything about the media, Bonnie or Catherine? Okay. Any other questions?
Drew Butler has a question.
Okay. What's your question?
I assume that we're going to have all the resources on the media team.
So we will have, we're going to try to have some basic things, like some basic generic old phones to use as cameras. We will have computers. We're going to try to have some people bring their stuff. Like we might have the video editors who end up becoming the video editors bring their computer that has their video editing software on it, because we don't have all of that ourselves. My son Stuart, I don't know if any of you know him. He's an actual videographer, and he is coming, and he's going to be helping do all the tech, teach you all the tech and all the video skills and stuff. So he'll be there too, but I don't, he's not necessarily bringing all his stuff across the country to come. He'll just be there to help. But yes, we'll be asking some of you, if you're the technical people, to bring some stuff, and we'll try to bring some stuff too. Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But do I say I'm doing my time, Nicholas?
Thank you. Do we have another motion?
I move that we explain the duties and requirements for the officers and leadership roles.
Do we have a second?
I second that
I
motion.
second.
I will now explain the duties of the leadership offices and roles. So at Yes Week, one of you will be the Chancellor of the Assembly, and you will do for the Assembly meeting what I'm doing now for the Zoom call. You'll recognize people who make motions. You'll call for a second if there needs to be one. You will manage the meeting and make sure that people speak one at a time, and be in charge of setting the agenda. In addition to that, when Congress considers a bill, it's first introduced to the whole Congress, but then it's referred to a smaller group called a committee, and that committee can study that bill in detail. And rather than having the whole Congress get together to do it, they have a smaller group. So we will break into about 5 different committees of our assembly. So each committee will have a chair who will play the same role as the chancellor of the whole assembly for that committee. And they'll manage the meeting and respond to motions and conduct the voting process. So some of you will get to be in those positions. In addition, the parliamentarian has the job of making sure that we follow parliamentary procedure correctly. So this person needs to study parliamentary procedure and make sure that they know how that works, and there will be mentors there to help with that as well. But somebody that's interested in studying that in more depth might want to do that role. At the event, we'll also elect a clerk of the House. This is someone who can who's in charge of reading the bills as they're presented and receiving them. They'll give each one a number and be in charge of managing some of the paperwork that's associated with that. And we'll also have a sergeant at arms. This is someone who's responsible for keeping order, making sure that people are listening and not speaking out of turn or getting rambunctious. So these are some of the opportunities, and I now yield the remainder of my time to Bonnie to discuss the election process.
Okay, so as Nicholas said, some of these roles we're going to hold elections before Yes Week because that will give the person who is elected opportunity to prepare a little bit more and to get a little bit of help from the mentor, one-on-one kind of help with the mentors if they want to be more prepared for their office. It's not like a ton. Mostly what you need to know, you will learn in the workshop, but in case some of you like to be very well prepared, which I know some of you who do, we want to allow you to be elected beforehand. Others of the jobs you can do without really any prior knowledge or preparation. So we're going to hold some of the elections at Yes Week, some of the elections beforehand. We want to let everyone who is registered for Yes Week be a part of the voting. But in order to run in the election, you need to meet some requirements. So we're going to talk about some of those logistics right now. So the first step, if you want to run for any of these roles, parliamentarian, chancellor, committee chair, clerk, or sergeant at arms, you need to inform the mentors of the assembly, which is Catherine, Nicholas, and myself, of your desire or intention to run in the election. Even if you're thinking you might want to run in the election, go ahead and let us know that. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a minute. So just even if you're like, I don't know what I want to run for yet, or I'm not even sure that I want to do this, but I might want to do this, go ahead and let us know where you're at this point. Okay, so that's step number one. You need to communicate. And this meeting will be shared with people who were not able to come at this time. So if you are watching later, first of all, let me give you a shout out. Thank you for watching. And you can still communicate with us. Okay, so actually, let me address that. If you are watching later, I wrote down, this was Catherine's awesome idea. I wrote down our email addresses, and I'm just going to hold those up. Oh, which way do I go? Here are our email addresses. go ahead and send an email to the three
Mom,
of us.
Mom, put them in the chat.
I will put them in the chat, but I just wanted to hold them up in case. Does the chat go in a recording? Can you see the chat after the fact? Yeah, that's why I'm holding them up right now. You could also, if that didn't work and you know my number, you can just send me a text and I will get you some more information about that.
I'll tell you quickly, mine is ALLENKS@AOL.com. Go ahead and tell yours, Bonnie. And
Yeah, mine is pretty simple, bonnie.parks@gmail.com. So just
Mine is not so simple. It's nicholas@nicholasoliverallen.com.
Perfect. So step number 1, communicate your desire or intention to run in the election. Step number 2, attend all 6 of our assembly workshops. This is only required for people who want to be eligible to run in the elections. These are optional for everyone else. But if you want to run, you need to attend all 6 of the workshops. That can mean live in person on Zoom, live on Zoom, or watching the recording after the fact can totally count for that. Okay, so don't worry about it if you have a conflict or if you have to miss one or more of these, you can watch after the fact. So step 2, watch all the recordings live or after the fact. Number 3, if you want to run for the chancellor or for a committee chair role, then you need to run part or all of one of these workshop meetings. And that doesn't mean you have to know everything and say everything on the meeting. It would be the job that Nicholas has done to be the chair of the meeting. You would need to take a turn on one of our workshops doing that. If you want to be chancellor or a committee chair, or even if you think you might want to be chancellor or committee chair, then we'll have you sign up to do that. Okay, number 4, this one's optional, but very strongly encouraged. If you would like to run in the election, we strongly encourage you to submit a campaign video. These videos will be shared with everyone that is registered for Yes Week. And on week 6 of our workshops, our last workshop day, we will share these videos, the ones that have been submitted thus far. We will share them with you. Now, why, if you're running in an election, would you want to make a campaign video? Yeah, Hiram.
So people can get to know you and like know what you're like.
Yeah, you need some publicity. So and Amy.
And if you hypothetically say you were gonna run for sergeant at arms, you'd want people to know how buff you are and how good at that you are and how much you know arms and how you would want people to know that. If in the hypothetical sense that someone was gonna want to do that.
Right. Only how much you know arms. Yes, we will. I'm now picturing a campaign video from Amy with lots of flexing. That might just happen. Okay. So those are the 4 requirements. I guess the 4th one's an optional, but strongly encouraged. 4 requirements. Now, the election, as I said, for the chancellor, the parliamentarian, and the committee chairs will be happening before Yes Week. So let me tell you how that's going to look. After our last workshop, we will send out a Google form, like a survey form, to everyone who's registered for Yes Week it'll be the ballot. And you all are eligible to vote. Congratulations, you did not have to wait till you're 18. You all get to vote in the election for these different roles. And we will also, in that email where we send out that ballot, we will also send all the campaign videos that have been submitted to that point. Then that whole next week, which will be, May 13th through the 18th, from that Monday to that Saturday, the election will be open. You can vote anytime that week. And then we will compile the results. And then the first Monday that we don't have, after our workshop is done, after week 6, the very next Monday at 3:00, so our normal workshop time, we will jump on Zoom and have an election results announcement. And so you will get to find out. We'll also send out an email, but might as well have a big party to celebrate the election results. So that's for the chancellor, the parliamentarian, and all the committee chairs. Then at Yes Week on the first day, there will be election held for the clerk and the sergeant at arms, which may end up being there may be able to be multiple sergeant at arms with some rotation. So different days, a different person gets to be sergeant at arms. So those elections will happen at Yes Week. So before I move on, I have a little bit more, but before I move on, does anyone have any questions about the requirements or about the election process? Joy.
I put it in the chat, but basically I wanted to make sure I understood those who are filling these jobs of chair, of committee chair, chancellor and all these other jobs. Which of them, do any of them get to also participate in the election process, the discussions, the debates, the, motions and things like that? Or do they just sit back the whole time?
That is a very good question. The committee chairs would certainly be able to participate in the House floor, and there are rules to allow the committee chair in committee meeting to participate in the debate, and we can get into some of those details. So many of them for sure. Go ahead, Catherine. You go ahead and answer.
Just say the chancellor and the committee chair, the chancellor, the clerk, and the parliamentarian will probably not be as involved in that aspect of it, although they can do it in committee. They won't be involved in it in the main thing, the main assembly. And the sergeant at arms is probably going to be a rotating position, so we'll have 3 of them, 1 each day. So they'll get to have some time participating and some time being a part of the larger assembly. And then, of course, committee chairs will be in the larger assembly and then be leading when they're in their committees.
Go ahead, Joy.
So would they submit, like if they were on there, but they had an idea for a bill, would they just quietly get someone else to submit, to do the bill and do the talking? Like, hey, we need to have a bill about this. Let's do, and still kind of could be in the process, even if they weren't the one actually saying, hey, I make a motion. Is that how they could do it? Okay.
Yeah, that would work great. Any other questions about those details? Yes, Hiram.
This is like for this section, also for like the entire meeting. Is there like a sheet with all this information we can go over like afterwards?
Yeah, so my plan is every week after a workshop, probably on Tuesdays, I will send an email with the recording of our Zoom call and notes from the meeting. If we have any handouts, which this time I will include a little election process kind of handout. So there will always be these kinds of things in writing. Yep.
If you know right now that you'd like to participate, Bonnie, can they go ahead and put that in the chat?
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to get to. I just didn't want to overload with too much information. So if you already know that you're interested, you can sign up right now today. So what I want you to do is put your caps lock on. We want it all caps so that we know that this is you saying that you want to run. Put your full name, first and last name, and your desired position or positions. If you want to run for more than one thing, that's an option. Or if you you want to run in the election, but you haven't decided what you want to run for, you can just put your name and undecided in all caps. Also, one more instruction. If you are wanting to run for chancellor or one of the committee chairs, put another line, put your full name and lead so we can take note of anyone who wants to lead one of the meetings. And Catherine gave you an example. Catherine Allen, committee chair, Catherine Allen, lead. Great. So you can go ahead and do that through the rest of the meeting. Or you can also just email us those details. Okay, I see things coming in. Are there any further questions? Okay, keep those coming as we continue and move on with the rest of the meeting. But for my part, I yield my time, and that's all I have to say about that.
I, your fairy godmother, move that we adjourn this meeting until 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April 8th, 2024. This will allow us to open the time now for committee meeting led by Bonnie to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
This meeting is now adjourned until 3 p.m. Eastern Time on April 8th, next Monday. We will now continue in our with the committee meeting. Anyone who would like to discuss further questions, you can remain on the call. And if not, we'll see you next week.